So we're sitting here today talking about nuclear waste and where to put it, where to place it.
Tonight, chiefs from 3 First Nations are in Ottawa to raise concerns about a nuclear power plant on their traditional lands.
We were mistreated, misled, and now we want justice.
Survivors from St. Anne's Residential School present evidence again at a Senate committee.
I'm so passionate about sharing culture and art.
And a mentorship program in Saskatchewan is showing how art can be more than just a hobby. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Pre-trial proceedings continue today in Winnipeg for a Caucasian man accused of killing 4 Indigenous women. Rebecca Contois, Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, and an unidentified woman, given the name Buffalo Woman. The focus so far has been on a constitutional challenge about the jury's impartiality. T.R. Wheatley was in the courtroom and joins us now.
Day 2 of the Jeremy Skibicki murder trial continued with his lawyer trying to convince the judge to toss the jury and make this a judge-alone trial. Skibicki's defense focused on the effects of pre-trial publicity on a jury. They brought in an expert witness by video conference from her home in Florida. Christine Ruva is a cognitive psychologist. Her biggest argument is this: even the best instructed jurors cannot avoid bias. Her research is based on 24 studies across the U.S. It concludes that no juror is immune from bias because of exposure to daily news. Crown prosecutors focused on the difference between pre-trial coverage in Canada and the U.S. In the States, the accused, witnesses, and even the police can freely talk to the media before a trial starts. Here in Canada, that's just not the case. There were fewer people in court on day 2. What was most noticeable? Family members of one of the women Skibicki is accused of killing moved closer to where he sat. Skibicki himself stared at the big screen in the room. He didn't really look at anyone else. The accused is facing 4 first-degree murder charges. He's pled not guilty to all of them. Jury is not expected to be present until May 8. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thanks, TR. For more in-depth coverage of this trial, you can head over to our website, aptnnews.ca, where you can see stories from our web reporter, Kathleen Martins. Today, several First Nations leaders were in Ottawa to speak up about the lack of consent about a nuclear power plant and waste on their traditional lands. Angel Moore has details.
At a press conference in Ottawa, Green Party co-leader Elizabeth May was joined by 3 First Nations leaders. They were there to reject the possible expansion of the nuclear industry in their territories. Grand Chief Ron Tremblay is from the Holistic Council in New Brunswick and is worried about the waste produced.
Our people were never consulted or asked about our input or concerns about nuclear. So we're sitting here today talking about nuclear waste and where to put it, and where to place it.
Tremblay is talking about the Pointe La Pro nuclear generating station. Atlantic Canada's only nuclear plant is located 20 kilometers west of St. John, New Brunswick. It provides the province of New Brunswick with 40% of its power. The plant is located in Passamaquoddy territory. Hugh Akaji is chief of the Passamaquoddy Nation. He says nuclear power is too risky.
Every child needs to see what I saw. They need to see those fish. They need to see those trees. They need healthy air, and they do not need nuclear contamination for thousands of years.
The plant uses uranium fuel refined at plants such as the Blind River Uranium Refinery. It's in Ontario, located on the ancestral lands of the people of the Mississauga First Nation. Peyton Petawanaquit is a councillor there and says her band has issued a band council resolution
to declare opposition to any future use of the Blind River Refinery site that would see these lands being used as a disposal site for radioactive wastes. Unfortunately, the challenges faced by our First Nation are not unique, and the environmental discrimination is happening all across the country.
Petawanaquit says her community in Ontario is consulting with Canada Nuclear Safety Commission, but she says treaty rights are not being upheld.
There's a lot more in-depth discussions that need to be had, and we really are at a point where we need to reset the relationship and ensure that our rights are being upheld.
New Brunswick Power did not respond for an interview at time of air, and the Canada Nuclear Safety Commission said an interview was also not possible. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabotuk, also known as Halifax.
Still in Ottawa, the survivors of a notorious residential school in Northern Ontario once again had to provide evidence. This time in front of a Senate committee on Tuesday. Fraser Needham has more.
The Senate Committee on Indigenous Peoples is examining why institutions like the federal government and Catholic Church haven't released all residential school documents in their possession. St. Anne's was a residential school in Fort Albany that closed its doors in 1976. Survivor Edmund Metatawabin says it is frustrating the government continues to fight them in court rather than releasing the documents.
They spent $6 million fighting us. $6 million that could have gone somewhere else more positive. If they spent $6 million to fight us, what is it that they're hiding? What is it that they're afraid of?
Evelyn Korkmaz is also a survivor of St. Anne's. She adds another point of contention is the non-disclosure agreement signed between the government and Catholic Church, which allowed documents to be sent to the Vatican.
We were mistreated, misled, and now we want justice. And it is disgraceful on Canada's part that they have spent $6 million fighting us and hiding documents and sending them to Rome. These documents belong here in Canada.
Faye Brunning is a lawyer who works with St. Anne's survivors. She says a full inquiry needs to be held into why Department of Justice officials have withheld documents from the independent assessment process and Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
What needs to happen is a proper inquiry and bring in the people who've made these decisions, have them testified and be tested under oath. Because that's reconciliation, in my view, is when the internal processes, what happens behind the curtains. You draw back the curtains and let's see what's happening. What are the side deals? Where are they? And who made them? And those people have to be held accountable.
Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
We're always wanting to hear your feedback. Here are some of the ways you can continue the conversation about anything you see here or would like to see here. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, you can go to our website. That's aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. The Innu Council of Mashtiats appeared before the Supreme Court of Canada last week to argue that the province of Quebec has not sufficiently funded their police service. It's been a long journey for the council to arrive at the highest court in the country. In 2017, Mashtiats filed a lawsuit in Quebec Superior Court for $1.6 million, an amount that represents the accumulated deficit in public security over a period of 4 years. In 2022, the Quebec Court of Appeal rendered a unanimous decision and ordered the federal and provincial governments to reimburse the $1.6 million. Canada paid its share, but Quebec appealed the decision in February.
Ça s'est somme toute bien passé. De notre côté, c'est sûr qu'on croit qu'on a un dossier solide, un dossier béton, donc on est confiant pour la suite. Ce que je peux dire aux gens, c'est que l'historique est quand même assez long. On est rendu à notre 3e instance judiciaire dans le dossier du sous-financement de la sécurité publique.
A decision by the Supreme Court of Canada isn't expected for several months. Meanwhile, a political crisis has been unfolding in a First Nation in Quebec. Details on that after the break. Welcome back. In the Kitikshish Anishinaabe community, 6 hours northwest of Montreal, managers and band council employees blocked a road, preventing all outside workers from entering the community. They'd hoped to be heard by their band council, but instead they got suspensions. Shushan Bakon was on hand as a political crisis unfolded.
C'est notre chef, c'est notre conseil, on a le droit de dire ce qu'on pense. Puis le huis clos, ça a d'excuses. Puis tu es complice de ça quand tu devrais nous laisser rentrer d'un aîné. Dans notre coutume, là, quand un aîné veut rentrer pour s'adresser au conseil, il a le droit.
Protesters surrounded a special closed-door meeting of the Kitikshish Anishinaabeg Council at a hotel in Val-d'Or, Quebec, more than 500 kilometers northwest of Montreal. Kitikshish Chief Regis Penisway and 4 council members are meeting to discuss the community's political crisis. While outside, Kitikshish residents who allege the chief and councillor mismanaging the community are joined by non-Indigenous employees of the Kitikshish primary school, as well as those at the Mississippi Zone Daycare Center.
Je vais aller dans la salle à 3 heures, puis c'est ça mon plus gros combat pour les enfants. Pour les enfants, puis pour votre salaire aussi.
Salary increases for education workers in the community are overdue. A 5-year agreement between the First Nations Education Council and Indigenous Service Canada has already provided funding intended to raise salaries. Luc Letourneau, Director of Education at Kitikshish, says he came out to advocate for children's education.
Le groupe qui fait le barrage a été mis au courant que le Conseil, et puis là, quand je dis ça, je ne fais pas de politique, là, évidemment, là, c'est pas mon rôle, mais refusait de signer la résolution qui permettait d'accorder à nos employés l'augmentation salariale à laquelle ils avaient droit. De toute façon, l'argent est rentré. C'est même pas une question financière, l'argent est là.
In an interview, Chief Regis Penisway promised salary increases will be forthcoming.
Oui, les fonds ils sont là, juste comme on dit, nous, comme conseil, on ne peut pas signer de résolution si on ne voit pas les chiffres. Ça a été présenté. Ça, le 26 mars dernier, nous, le conseil, on était en attente de nos gestionnaires. Comment? Puis il y avait une résolution qui était préparée en fonction.
However, on March 26, the manager and 5 former chiefs were attending a press conference on Parliament Hill, calling for federal intervention over what they allege is misconduct by leadership.
L'éducation, on demandait d'avoir les chiffres. Tu sais, on ne les recevait pas. Tu sais, jusqu'à temps qu'on prenne les mesures, aujourd'hui, qui est des mesures drastiques, mais c'est pour le bon fonctionnement du Conseil qu'on a pris ça.
After several hours behind closed doors, the Chief and Council announced their decision to suspend 14 band council employees with pay for an indefinite period for violating the Kitikshish Anishinaabeg Council Employee Code of Ethics. 8 acting employees will be replacing their suspended colleagues. In a letter to employees, Band Council explained the reason for their suspension. Further to your participation in a press conference on CPAC broadcast on March 26, 2024, a visit to Indigenous Service Canada's ISC office in Quebec City on April 9, 2024, a visit to the office of Minister responsible for relations with the First Nations and the Inuit in Quebec City on April 9, 2024, and a roadblock on Highway 117 at Junction 38 on April 15th and 16th, 2024. 2 days prior to this controversial council meeting, protesters set up a roadblock at the entrance of the community, turning away outside workers while allowing community residents to come and go. The protesters have been calling for council to meet several demands before they lift the roadblocks. Adrienne Nishnapio is the spokesperson for the group that blocked the road.
Et nous, on est là pour défendre l'avenir de nos jeunes parce qu'on se préoccupe beaucoup et sur la façon que le Conseil présentement traite les dossiers de l'éducation. Là, ça nous préoccupe au plus haut niveau.
She explains that the group is denouncing the political interference of elected officials.
De relever les fonctions d'une directrice générale. Tu sais, ça ne se fait pas, ça. Partout ailleurs, on ne voit pas ça. Un chef qui s'occupe de l'administration et de la gestion des ressources humaines. Puis ça ne se fait pas. Puis c'est une première à Kitikshish qu'on voit ça. Et ce n'est pas correct. C'est pas correct de faire ça. Puis de ne pas faire confiance aussi aux gens de sa communauté.
She explains that the group is denouncing the political interference of elected officials. She says she does not trust the independent inquiry mandated by the Band Council. Doris Papati, Executive Director of the Kitikshish Council, is concerned about the peace and safety of community residents.
Il n'y a pas de structure au conseil pour faire ça ici, les agissements, là, les irrégularités aussi d'un conseil de bande, ça. Fait que c'est tout ça. Quand on est de bonne foi, ben, on est capable d'adresser ce qui ne fonctionne pas, mais quand les gens le prennent aussi personnel, c'est les enjeux de gouvernance ici, là.
Indigenous Service Canada says it does not wish to interfere in the community's internal discussions. The Government of Canada is prepared to pay for mediation to facilitate these discussions, and we have made this offer to the community. We strongly encourage all the parties involved to accept this offer. A solution needs to be found quickly because children currently are unable to attend school. There seems to be no communication between the protesters and the elected members.
L'inégalité est là. C'est ça nous autres, c'est ça qu'on demande, qu'on soit traité d'égal à égal. Il y en a un monsieur qui est assis là, juste une journée, il est suspendu. Tandis qu'il y en a d'autres qui écrivent des niaiseries dans Facebook, là. Ils ne sont pas suspendus. Nos gestionnaires, il y a eu une suspension avec solde. C'est comme un peu, je vous suspends, mais vous ne dites plus un mot. Comme qu'on fait aux femmes comme ça.
The chief says he is open to discussions on concrete topics, but chief and council did not meet any of the protesters' demands. And protesters say they have no intention of giving up. For the moment, they've lifted the roadblock, but left their materials at the side of the road, ready to be used again. Next time, the protesters say they will shut down access to the community for everyone. A report by Shushan Bacon, read by Jeff Dorn, APTN National News, Kitikshish, Quebec.
Thanks to Shushan and Jeff for that. A camp in Saskatchewan is helping build a sense of well-being for Indigenous youth. That story and more still to come. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. And a very special wish, for a birthday wish for our video journalist Tina House, whose Safi turned 25 years old, which equals to 116 in cat years. That's crazy. Happy birthday, Safi. It looks like you're a Canucks fan. Remember, for the chance to be our next photo of the day, send your photos to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, sunny and 14 for Halifax, 12 in Fredericton. 0 under sunny skies in Kuujjuaq, snow and +1 in Nain. Cloudy and 14 for Montreal, showers and 14 for Val-d'Or. 11 with rain in Sault Ste. Marie, showers and 13 for North Bay. 12 with rain in Thunder Bay, rain and 7 in Sioux Lookout. 5 for God's Lake, snow and 7 in Norway House. 13 with showers in Winnipeg, 12 in Dauphin with rain. 10 in Regina, showers and 14 for Saskatoon. 14 with rain in Meadow Lake, 13 in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, 12 for High Level, cloudy and 8 in Grand Prairie. 8 with showers in Edmonton, 5 with snow in Lethbridge. 12 in Vancouver and Victoria, 15 in Kamloops. Showers and 12 for Prince George, 14 and rain in Smithers. -5 with snow in Old Crow, 14 with showers in Whitehorse. 5 above in Yellowknife, +2 with flurries in Norman Wells. -13 in Sax Harbor, 3 below for Colville Lake. -3 in Chesterfield, 2 below in Whale Cove in Arviat. -16 with snow in Resolute, 15 below in Joe Haven. The Community Arts Mentorship Program in Saskatchewan is all about bringing art to underserved areas in the province to prove that art is more than just a hobby. Reporter Rachel May sat down with the founders of Camp Sask Arts.
The Community Arts Mentorship Program, or Camp Sask Arts, was created after a mental health crisis near the community of Loon Lake in 2019 took the lives of 3 young people. Co-founder Holly Rayuzichipi is a visual artist from Standing Buffalo, Dakota Nation. She says the program is meant to cultivate a communal sense of well-being through the arts.
I'm so passionate about sharing culture and art, and sometimes just being Indigenous, it's hard to feel that you can have things that are awesome.
Camp Sask Arts offers people of all ages mentorships in how to work in both visual and musical art forms, as well as how to teach what they've learned and remove the tokenization of Indigenous art.
I always hear that term, we're more than beads and bannock. You know, there's a lot, and helping people recognize our communities also have history in that, so let's find it and let's, help our people connect to that history.
Co-founder Eliza Doyle is a musical artist from Loon Lake and says it's important these programs aren't one and done.
And really, all that does is reinforce that good things don't stay, or here's something that's coming and then it's going to not be here again.
Recently, Camp Sask Arts was supported by the Downey Wenjack Blanket Fund to the tune of $175,000 every year for 4 years to continue their programming.
So that's our commitment too, is what we base our programming on, is we will never leave a community until local capacity has been achieved.
Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
The calls for the disbandment of the Thunder Bay Police Service have been growing. In recent weeks, the former chief of police and the former police services lawyer were both charged by the Ontario Provincial Police. Families who have recently lost loved ones in the city have also filed complaints with the Inspector General of Policing in Ontario. Lawyer Julian Faulkner is representing those families and is our guest on tonight's episode of Face to Face.
The passage of time of the last 6 years, it's done nothing but get worse. The chief of police at that time was J.P. Levesque. He faced criminal charges. He was ultimately acquitted, but he faced criminal charges. The chief of police next is Sylvie Hoth. Same story. She faces criminal charges. The chief lawyer for the Thunder Bay Police Service now faces criminal charges in respect of obstruct. I mean, the tales of basically decline in respect of that service continue. Indigenous people cannot trust that police service.
You can catch our interview with Julian Faulkner on Face to Face right here in less than about a minute's time from now. That is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. Big night of hockey tonight, too. I was going to wear my Leafs jersey here on the desk, but the crew would have turned on me, so I wore this Winnipeg Jets colored tie. Good luck to both teams tonight, but mostly the Jets. I'm Dennis Ward, Marcy McGuitch. Thanks for being with us. Mostly the Leafs, I meant. Stay tuned for Face to Face. Have a great night.